You've only got to casually scroll online to realise that tutors are often told to market themselves in very particular ways. We're told to post in Facebook groups, to create constant content, to be consistent, to be visible everywhere. But quite often, there's a really important question that people aren't asking themselves. Is any of this where our inquiries actually come from? Because if we don't know where our inquiries are coming from, then there's a very good chance that we're wasting time and energy on the wrong marketing activities. This episode of the Tutor Edit is the start of a very short summer mini-series all about how tutors can use this time of year intentionally before September arrives. And I wanted to begin with marketing because, quite honestly, I think that this is one of the most useful times all year to just step back and have the space to properly review what has worked so we can do more of it, what hasn't worked so we can either tweak it or stop doing it, and that we can build a business that works for us moving forwards into the next academic year. Thinking about what is working, not what we think should work, but what is genuinely working is one of the most powerful things that we can do at this time of the year. Because once September begins, it can become very easy just to slip back into reactive mode again when our calendars become more booked, when our lessons are in full flow and the admin starts piling up. Now, if we haven't met, my name's Jane Bilham and I'm the founder of Vimeo Tuition, an online tuition business that supports students worldwide. It's grown from me being a sole trader in a local library to now having a team of tutors that support students both in the UK and internationally. This mini-series of the Tutor Edit will just give you a peek behind the scenes of my own business, what I'm planning on working on over the summer months when things are a little bit quieter for us, so that we can start September with a meaningful way that is much more streamlined and builds on the progress that we made in this academic year. Now, in conversations with other tutors over the last few weeks and months and even years, really, the pattern becomes very clear that a lot of marketing that's being done by tutors is just assuming that because something works for somebody else, because everybody else is doing something, they should be doing it too. And especially things like posting constantly in Facebook groups. Because if you spend enough time around online business advice, you start hearing the same messages repeated over and over again. Post more, be visible, comment in Facebook groups, create daily content. And honestly, I don't think that any of those things are wrong. But when you start asking yourself the question of where do my leads actually come from? Do I know where they come from? Or am I just copying what everybody else seems to be doing? They are very different questions to ask. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot in my own business recently. Most of our private clients do not come from Facebook groups. They don't really come from social media at all. Most of our inquiries come through Google search, they come through referrals, and increasingly even ChatGPT is recommending us. And honestly, that is absolute gold because when you know that information, it can shift where your time and energy should go. Because if somebody is finding us through Google search or an online search, then that is telling me very clearly that our online presence matters, that search engine optimization matters. And look, if you don't have a website, you can absolutely achieve this through social media. So thinking about the keywords that you're using that link your services to the things that parents are searching for is absolutely crucial. Our online presence is telling us that testimonials matter because they build trust. Clear messaging matters so parents can see us and see very clearly what we offer and if we are a good fit for them. The fact that our referrals are strong also tells us that our customer experience matters. Trust matters, relationships matters. And yeah, we know this already, but we're constantly looking to tweak and optimize any experience that the families have with us so that we can build on that success and generate even more referrals to make it more sustainable. And thirdly, the ChatGPT is relatively new for us, but this is telling us very clearly that GEO, where AI will find you, is becoming increasingly important. So the ways that we structure information online matters because parents are now increasingly discovering tutors through tools like ChatGPT. So this is all come to us, this information has come to us because we have tracked where our inquiries have come from. And this is really important, not only because you can then spend more time doing this, but actually it can become very easy to spend huge amounts of time doing things that actually don't work for your business just because that online business culture is telling you that that's what successful tutors do. And actually, when we do post on social media, it isn't moving our business forward at all. It's just providing reassurance that we are a kind of serving business. And this is something that I've reflected on a lot over the last academic year because, quite honestly, we became very stretched last year at times. We were at certain points in the year, we did not have enough tutor capacity to meet the demand that we had. And when that happened, visibility started to feel very different for us because I had to stop thinking, how do we get more inquiries? And start thinking, well, actually, how do I manage the level of demand that we already have? And, you know, complete disclosure, social media became very inconsistent, not because it was, it wasn't important, but it was just something had to give. So if that is you, take some kind of comfort from that I was not consistent last year and it absolutely did not impact on my business. And what I then realised through the tracking and the fact that our social media became very patchy is that actually the inquiries didn't stop. It wasn't driving most of our inquiries. The visibility still mattered because people want reassurance to see that it's an active business. It acts as proof that we were still running. And that distinction is really important because our marketing is much more sustainable once I realised this. I wasn't trying to be everywhere all the time. And it is about what's working for your business specifically. And again, this will be very different depending on what stage of business you're at or what your offer is. But this is the key, isn't it? That actually it's your business. It isn't somebody else's. And just taking some time to review that properly over the summer could be really powerful for you. Before you go back into delivery mode, start thinking about where are your inquiries coming from so that you can really hit the ground running from now until to bring in those inquiries in September. Before you start getting bogged down in teaching, scheduling, admin, emails, timetables, before the world speeds up again, there is some time to just pause and reflect at this time of year. Now, if you have that information, then that's incredible. So ask yourself, what's genuinely bringing inquiries into the business? Are you tracking it? And if you're not, then how can you track it? And that could be something as simple as on your inquiry form, you just have, how did you find us? Now, on our kind of tracking form, it is very clearly telling us where people are finding us. So we're doubling down on that and making sure that we're working even harder in those areas, putting the groundwork in to make sure that it's long-term and sustainable in terms of our time and energy. We want to be focusing on the things that are working. You could also start to think about, well, actually, what activities are you doing that feels performative rather than productive? And for us, and again, it will be different for other people, that was social media. Social media was very much, something that was not necessarily productive. It's a huge drain on time. And it wasn't necessarily giving us the results. Now, this may be added, and our plan is over the next over this summer period to extend that and compound on this and make sure that we are visible on social media, because we kind of have the foundations. We know where the bulk of our inquiries are coming from, and we can add social media into that to then add another kind of lead generation for us. But the key thing here is that we know what's worth continuing with and also what isn't. And honestly, one of the most simple things that you can do before September is just to find out where your leads have come from. That could be through an onboarding form, and just ask that one question, because as you start to see the pattern over time, it can be incredibly useful. You can start to see what's genuinely building relationships in your business, what's creating visibility, what's worth your energy, and what you may only be doing because everybody else online seems to be doing it too. And this is where tutors really need to give themselves permission to market differently, because there is a lot of pressure online to follow the same kind of formulas, but businesses do grow differently. Audiences behave differently, and your audience may be different to somebody else's. And a lot of tutors now, particularly experienced tutors, are now reaching a point where they're thinking much more carefully about sustainability. Not how do I do more, but actually how do I start to build something that's intentional and sustainable and manageable long term. And this forms part of that process. Understanding your marketing properly is a huge part of that sustainability in a business, because when you have that clarity, the noise reduces, and noise, as we all know, is absolutely exhausting. So, in terms of what I want to leave you with today, I just want you to start thinking about, before September arrives, just stop assuming that you know where your inquiries are coming from unless you're tracking it. If you're not tracking it, how can you start tracking it properly? You could even ask previous clients or existing clients that are continuing, how did you find us? But definitely build that in to your onboarding process from September, because we can spend a lot of time on very generic advice without actually checking if those activities are bringing in clients to us. And honestly, one of the most simple things that you can do over summer is just to start thinking about gathering that information, because knowledge is power, as we all know. And you can see what is working, maybe what isn't, so that you can tweak it and build on it. But most importantly, do more of the stuff that is bringing in business and less of the stuff that is just draining your time. Now, I've put together a guide for you over the summer, just a few key prompts to help you reflect. And I'll mention this throughout the series. I think we've got 4 episodes in total. If you are watching on YouTube, then the QR code I am pointing to it now is on your screen. And if you're listening on audio, I'll also link it into the show notes so that you can grab your copy too. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode in this summer series of how to use the summer to reset your business. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking about reviewing your customer journey. So if this part is how do we bring customers in, then episode 2 is all about, well, when we have them, what do we actually do with them? And how does it feel to be a customer in our business, so that we can start identifying opportunities for automation and streamlining in September, so that we can reduce the overwhelm from the very beginning. It's been wonderful to see you again, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.